Thanks for being here. I'm David Parisi. I am the SVP of Client Partnerships at Ibotta. I'm joined here today by our two esteemed panelists. We have Meghan Archer, who is the SVP of Global Media and Digital Strategy at Kenvue, as well as Jess Shuraleff, Uber's head of US and Canada sales. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about the increasing importance of last mile commerce and how marketers like Meghan are thinking about and planning for the incremental activity that comes by way of these channels. A topic that is, particularly relevant and important to all of us here and many of you in the room, as Uber and Ibotta just recently announced a multi-year exclusive partnership whereby we deliver digital promotions across the Uber ecosystem on behalf of some of the most important brands in the world, like Aveeno and Tylenol, to name a few. Did you see what I did there?
Yes.
Yeah,
like
good.
Listerine,
Okay.
Band-Aid, and
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Keep
perfect.
going.
Don't
Thank
take my
you.
examples.
Okay, so over the past few years, last mile's really migrated from a conversation that was largely about logistics to one that really puts marketing at the center more recently. We'll start with Meghan. How do you think about that shift and what's really driving it from your perspective?
Yeah. Gosh, you do see the shift. However, I'm going to say all of that is very equally important as both sides and all cross-functionally, they continue to build out the footprint to, on the media side, say largely one of the things on the media side that I find is it's not just about that media, it's about looking at meeting the customer where they are and the moments that matter with last mile. And I think that's probably one of the big pieces that have more shifted into our world today. And how do we meet those customers with the right offer at the right time through last mile, and being able to lock that, quite frankly, convenience that it's truly known for, and that winning the speed. Speed is very important.
Yeah, that's super important. Jess, your perspective as you're deeply embedded inside of last mile, what do you think that shift has really come from a consumer perspective?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I agree with what Meghan just said, right? It's about meeting consumers where they're at, and we're increasingly seeing within our platform, and my role is really to partner with brands and bring them solutions that are going to help them reach consumers across both Uber, so our Rides app, as well as Uber Eats. And we're seeing across both platforms that the consumer decision is, no longer the funnel. All of us that have been marketing for some time, right? We've been saying for some time the funnel has collapsed, and those moments of discovery, those moments of consideration, those moments of purchase are happening in real time. And so it's about meeting consumers where they're at with the right context, and driving the value for them in that moment. So a great example, right? We all landed in Cannes. I'm sure many of us have forgotten something. Band-Aids, Tylenol, beauty supplies, whatever those things are, right? And hopefully you turn to Uber Eats to get those delivered in those moments, right? And it's all those rich data signals that really help us ensure that we're reaching the consumer with the right message at the right time.
It's such a good reminder. Just grab things from Uber Eats as you need them. It's hard to do around here.
Or check out our pizza activation at the Vesuvio.
What time is that?
I've been told it starts at 1 a.m. To
Okay.
be honest, I've been in bed.
It's a little late for me. Yeah.
The pizza's good.
Yeah. Meghan, in your current role and throughout the course of your career, I'm sure you've been constantly pitched commerce partnerships from many platforms, partners, vendors. What's the consistent thing in those pitches that earn their way onto your plans and your activation strategy more consistently? What do they have to deliver on to be a steady for you?
Mm-hmm. Great question, and very true. True statement there. And so I'd say three big pieces that I look for and my team looks for. Let's say largely one is on the performance side, And this is performance to show true incrementality. We've moved beyond just the impression world, or I'm going to say traditional marketing KPIs, and driving, call it full funnel, or end to end is another way to think about that, and incrementality. And then the other part on the incrementality is ensuring it's not just a shift in demand, especially for where I'm at. If we're looking at a Neutrogena, I want to make sure my pie is growing and it's not just a reallocation, and to be able to measure that. The other part is just the end-to-end connectivity and ensuring, hey, we have a strategy on discoverability all the way to the digital page and to helping that consumer make that choice and converting. And just like holistically, those three pieces, I'm going to say underpinned by a strategic mindset of how do we want to look at the business today and of course, win and meet the consumers where we're at, but also what does our partnership look like 1, 2, 3 years out, and at least having that vision so we can continue to be highly strategic.
Jess, I'm sure you and I are taking the same mental notes about what Meghan just said. When you think about the consistent consumer profile that y'all have at Uber across rides, eats, grocery, retail, you name it, how does that data foundation really help you with regards to what Meghan just said about being able to deliver results back to brands like hers?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think that the question that all of us as partners to brands should be asking is not what was the ad impression that was driven, but it's what is the business outcome that we drove for you. And so I think grounding everything in that, and we at Uber sit at the intersection of everybody's daily lives, right? You often will be taking an Uber to work. You will be, every Wednesday, I always run out of ice cream, so I'm ordering another box of ice cream to my 8 and 10-year-old, right? And it's those everyday moments that allow us to understand there's a real person behind those actions, right? Every tap has a story behind it within our ecosystem, and being able to help brands understand not only how our consumers are interacting with their brand within our platform, but then taking that one step further to ensure that we are having partnerships that think about what are all those different touch points and ensuring that everything we're driving towards is an incremental action on the platform as a whole.
If last mile commerce keeps growing at the pace it's growing today, I'm sure we're going to see a continued shift in the media landscape. Meghan, what do you think, forward looking 3 to 5 years out, what's the primary change that you'll see on your plans and how you go to market strategically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I would say that as we're already seeing today, the trends, I'm just saying that the funnels collapsing, if you will, in different areas. Not always. You see a gamut of where it could be a larger funnel or kind of more steps to it, depending on your goal and what kind of consumer you're trying to reach. However, I think that with last mile, it's going to come down to immediate, call it conversion. We're doing the thinking for the consumer. We're already anticipating their needs through predictive analytics and forecasting. I joke with my team, the magic 8 ball, and it's how do we meet them? And they're like, yes, you did the thinking for me, boom, and just converting right there at last mile. Last mile, Uber, so critical in the media and commerce ecosystem. This is where the growth is. They're interacting with your consumer as well. There's human beings there interacting, delivering, and so that's even an extra touch point that makes it even more special and just critical part of your strategy. Of course, that does inform, the media spend and so on. So how do I look at that in the future and ensure that I'm placing the right bets at the right places? Yeah.
Jess, how do you think about that for the next few years for y'all? What are the big priorities on your side?
Yeah, so I think that, value, in the simplest form, value to consumer matters, right? And how that value shows up can look different in lots of different ecosystems and lots of different channels. I think in the context of last mile, as we think about, consumers don't know the difference between media and promotions, nor should they, right? All they care about is that what they are seeing is solving for their immediate need in that moment. And like I said earlier, we're seeing increasingly on our platform, so we know that 2 to 3 consumers come to Uber Eats not actually knowing necessarily like the brand that they are going to purchase from, right? And so that, again, the discovery, the consideration, the intent, the purchase behavior all happens in a very quick few moments. And so how are you delivering value to the consumer in that moment, and using partners like Ibotta to help to ensure that we are providing the best value possible to our consumers, and really allowing them to see the right message at the right time, at the right value.
Yeah, it's such a unique surface. You've got intent and awareness generated by way of Jess's team. We come in inside of that same session and be the conversion layer on behalf of brands to drive that deterministic outcome. And that's all just in service of delivering proof back to you, making sure that you know where your next dollar should be spent based on partnerships like ours. Room full of marketers here. What's one piece of advice you would give marketers to stop doing today and start doing more of tomorrow if they want to get serious about connecting their investment to deterministic incremental sales?
All right, let's see, I'll go first, huh? Well, it's commerce, and so I'm just to set up to what I'm going to, my thoughts here is, it's not promotion or trade or media. Just think of it as total commerce, right? And it's super important to pair those together. And I'm going to say stop over planning, analysis paralysis, go with imperfect data, and go test and learn. It is something that if you fail, you learn from that, and so on. And I'm sure you're very familiar with that whole analogy in practice, but specifically with Ibotta, and I would say where I was previously before Kenvue was really when I had an opportunity to work with Ibotta and how it really did transform our business. They were very patient and worked together to say, hey, here's our core objective. I'm just going to do a test and learn. Let's see what's our results and so on, and go fast. And that is, you'll find that proof. To be able to further educate internally, to have some maybe discussions on the media side or whatever, because I do find that internally, sometimes like a company, they might have this delineation between media and trade. You just got to change that thought, just bring it all together, because what you're trying to do is reach that consumer.
Super interesting. How do you break down those silos, media and trade, when you're trying to develop a smart test and learn?
Well, if you can do test and learn without let's just go out of the gate, let's do something. It could be quite small, and show that proof in the pudding, essentially, and show, hey, here's the data points, here's the measurement, here's how I went about coming up with what I wanted to go after with this imperfect data, and educate internal stakeholders. I'm going to say to be able to move mountains further together. So I think a little bit is boldness, and say just going versus asking for permission, if that is in your wheelhouse, to do that. If that's not the case, then I'd say bring in David, have him come to one of your meetings, and share internally with the stakeholders that might be some just more support and further information about how the whole product works and that consumer journey.
That was so nice. Thanks for doing that. What about you? Recommendation for the audience to stop doing today and start doing more of tomorrow?
I think we sort of touched on this, right? It's moving beyond KPIs. KPIs matter. I'm not saying that they don't. But how do you take those KPIs and think about how are you pushing business objectives forward, and how are you partnering with your different channel partners to think about holistically where are those opportunities? And I think that increasingly, if I look, 3-5 years out, the brands that are going to win are the ones that are going to understand context. Context matters, and ensuring that you're meeting consumers where they are is going to be increasingly important. And ensuring, again, that you're providing them value and whatever they are needing in that moment. Obviously, from a last mile perspective, that's the value to them as giving them and delivering them what they need as quickly as possible. We actually saw, this is a great stat. So the World Cup is upon us, and we actually saw that for the games happening in Canada, that there was a large increase in SPF being delivered, right? And so being able to understand those insights and the behaviors of your consumers and be able to act on it quickly, I think is going to make a game changer for brands who really truly understand that context matters.
We are nearly entirely through this panel, and no one has said AI yet. I think we delivered. We should be delivered an award as we step off here. I'm sure it's a record for a conference today, especially at Cannes. I'm going to do it, though. I'm sorry.
Hold Band-Aid.
Yeah. So when you think about commerce and when you think about driving incremental outcomes, where does AI, Meghan, play a role from thinking about marketing, resource allocation, and measurement? What tools are you using, or what's the strategy you're deploying by AI to really get there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. Ultimately, as AI, let's say internally, as we're planning on the media side, promotions with the commercial team, ultimately I want speed. I mean, speed is I'm gonna say an advantage, right? It's a consumer advantage. And so with AI, it's unlocking the speed of data and insights to, I'm very big on like the predictive analytics. I'm gonna say it's also a lot easier said than done to build, but ideally, those capabilities, and part of that is ensuring that you have the right talent there at the company to be able to unlock that. And so then there's this precision of decision making and speed. And then serving that up to, let's say, the human beings to make those decisions. It's really important. I think ultimately there's incrementality out of that too, there's a crawl, walk, run a bit there as you're like building that out. And then I also think on the consumer side, and how if I'm shopping on Uber and I'm looking and I need my sunscreen, that it is surfacing. It's easier to shop enabled by AI, the decisions. And then the other, I'm going to say the front end side of AI, I'm simplifying here and ensuring that we're meeting the consumer on, hey, I forgot my sunscreen, ordering my Neutrogena 70, I got to plug it, and let's go. Those are the things that they do want, and that would help them. So there's an AI component too on the front end.
Super helpful. Go ahead.
So from an Uber perspective, machine learning and AI has been the backbone of our company since we started, right? So obviously, we've been using that for many years to determine, which driver to match you with, how quickly to get there, to the point where now if your driver is like 30 seconds late, you probably think we failed, right? And so we applied those same principles when we entered into the delivery business across our restaurants, retail, grocers. And as we think about that from an advertising perspective, it's really going to be the operating system and the flywheel of how we're going to be able to deliver the context to consumers in the moments that matter to them. And so it's sort of taking the backbone of what we've built as the operating system of Uber and just applying all that goodness to how we're able to then deliver to our consumers the right message at the right time with the right value.
Yeah, that's really the beauty of this partnership is when you think about the future of agentic commerce, you have two primary prompts. You have availability, that's Uber, and you have the price or the value. That's where we come in from a value perspective as that single thread across anywhere consumers shop. I really appreciate the conversation. Let's give Jess and Meghan a round of applause. Thank y'all.